I have long sensed that the current US president would face a critical health challenge, something unavoidable, something written in the undercurrents of time. We are now entering that window, a period of turbulence between March and April. Whether it be a significant health event or a more dramatic turn of fate, I do not believe he will complete his full term. The course of history is shifting, and we are merely watching the pieces fall into place. But what comes next? A vision has been stirring in my spirit, one not shaped by the usual political figures, not the return of President Trump, nor any seasoned politician. No, the face of power in 2028 is different. A businessman, middle-aged, standing at the helm. Not a leader carved from the usual political mold, but from the world of enterprise. A figure who steps into the storm when others retreat. The Bible reminds us in Daniel 2:21, He changes times and seasons, He deposes kings and raises up others. History moves under God's hand, not by human will alone. Much like how Joseph, once a prisoner, rose to become Pharaoh's right hand in Egypt, not through political ambition, but divine positioning. This leader will emerge unexpectedly. He will not rise through traditional means, but through purpose, circumstance, and timing. There are moments when I sense the earth itself preparing to move, an energy so vast that it feels like the planet is drawing a deep breath before exhaling something massive. I see a great earthquake forming, one that will strike near Chile. Whether it happens this year or next, it will be one of profound impact, a quake that ripples through land and sea, shaking more than just the ground beneath us. Nature speaks in signs, just as spirit does. Jesus himself warned in Luke 21:11, "There will be great earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." These events are not random. They are part of the greater shifts that come with time. I've also felt the pull of water, an awareness that flooding will intensify, especially in Florida and the UK. The deluge won't just be another storm, but something more forceful, more defining. And Turkey, I must say, is not done with earthquakes. Spirit has shown me this clearly. Another devastating quake will come, altering landscapes and lives in a way that history will not forget. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Harper Wilson from Revealing Light Tarot, Astrology and Spirituality. My life has been anything but ordinary. I grew up knowing that there was something different about me. As a child, I sensed unseen energies, felt presences I could not explain, and at times even had thoughts that were not my own, telepathic flashes of insight that unsettled me. Back then, it frightened me. I didn't understand the shapes I saw, the whispers I heard, or the feelings that would overwhelm me. So, like many who fear what they don't understand, I pushed it all away. I built a mainstream career, first as a journalist, then as an editor, and eventually working within the government. My life was structured, logical, and predictable. And yet, despite all my efforts to ground myself in the tangible, Spirit never left me. It waited. And when the moment was right, it came flooding back in, shaking the very foundations of the life I had built. That moment came in 2015 when I was diagnosed with cancer. A life-threatening illness has a way of stripping away the illusions we cling to, revealing the core of who we are. The experience shattered me, yet in that brokenness, something extraordinary happened. I reconnected with my spiritual gifts. Once I reached out, Spirit met me with overwhelming force. Much like Moses in the wilderness, who had to leave behind his royal identity to find his true purpose, I had to step away from the life I knew to embrace the one I was meant for. I studied mediumship under gifted teachers, learned the art of energy work from shamans, and trained under master astrologers. I became particularly drawn to evolutionary astrology, which, much like reading a divine script, reveals the soul's blueprint in this life. Looking back, I can see it now. My transformation was already written in the stars. The signs were always there, waiting for me to recognize them. People often ask me how I make predictions, how I know what is coming. The truth is, it's not about knowing, It's about listening. Spirit speaks in whispers, in dreams, in visions. And when you learn to listen, you begin to see patterns, connections, and the greater design at work. I have seen political shifts on the horizon. I do not believe the current U.S. president will complete his full term. A health crisis looms, and with it, another attempt on his life. I have seen this coming for months now, and as we enter March and April, the energy around this intensifies. But what comes after? A vision has emerged, one of a leader unlike those we have seen before. The face of power in 2028 will not be that of a politician, but of a businessman. Middle-aged, graying hair, stepping onto the world stage not through the political arena, but through something else entirely. This is not the return of Trump, nor is it anyone currently shaping policy. This is someone new, someone who will rise from outside the establishment. It reminds me of David, the shepherd boy who was overlooked by men but chosen by God. When Samuel sought the next king of Israel, he looked at the strong, the mighty, the ones who seemed fit for the throne. But God told him in 1 Samuel 16:7, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This leader will not rise because of political pedigree, but because the time demands it. He will step into the role because the world will need something different. I have made many predictions, and time and again, they have come to pass. I foresaw an avalanche in California, an odd thing, given that California is not known for heavy snow. Yet within days, the very event I predicted unfolded. I have seen disasters before they struck, world events before they made headlines, not because I am special, but because Spirit moves through those who are willing to listen. There are moments in history when the world stands at a crossroads, when the decisions made will shape the destiny of nations for generations to come. I believe we are entering such a time in 2025. The energies surrounding this year are intense, with Pluto now moving into Aquarius, bringing deep transformation, and Mars, the god of war, directly opposing Pluto, the ruler of the underworld. This is a celestial battle playing out above us, and as history has shown, such alignments are rarely gentle. They strip away illusions, forcing humanity to confront its truths. I see a year of reckoning, a year where masks will fall, where hidden agendas will be exposed, and where people will be forced to decide: do we continue down the path of instability, or do we choose to correct our course? But before stability can come, there will be upheaval. One of the strongest visions I have received is of a significant U.S. military presence near the Panama Canal. A warship, perhaps a carrier, will be deployed there, signaling a strategic move that will have global consequences. The Panama Canal is one of the world's most critical trade routes, and any military action there will not be taken lightly. This could be a response to growing tensions with China, or another power seeking to challenge U.S. dominance in global trade. I do not make these predictions lightly. In fact, there are many moments when I hope I am wrong, because I do not want to see the world engulfed in more conflict. Yet, I cannot ignore what I see. The Bible reminds us in Matthew 24:6, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." These conflicts are part of a greater shift, a necessary unraveling before something new can emerge. Now let's talk about the United States. For over a decade, I have seen the U.S. growing more divided, more fractured. The political and social tensions that have been simmering are now reaching a boiling point. The country is approaching a critical breaking moment, one that will test the very foundation upon which it was built. I foresee serious economic instability, a near collapse of certain financial systems. Will there be a run on the banks? It is possible. A deep recession is likely, bringing hardship to many. I have sensed for a while that several states will begin to push for greater independence, no longer wanting to be bound by the federal government. One of the most striking visions I've had is of California, a state that has long seen itself as separate from the rest of the country. moving toward what some call Calexit. There is a potential referendum in 2026 where Californians may be asked directly, do you want to secede from the United States? If they gather 500,000 signatures, the question could officially be put to voters. But this movement is not just about California. I have seen other states pushing back as well, particularly those that feel their federal tax dollars are not benefiting their people. I see governors challenging the federal government, threatening to withhold federal taxes unless they receive the services they are owed. The governor of Maine has already made such threats, and I expect more leaders to follow. This is an unprecedented time of fracturing, a moment that will force Americans to ask themselves, what does it mean to be united? But I will say this, while these next few years will be incredibly difficult for the U.S., I see hope beyond 2028. After this storm passes, there will be a rebuilding, a chance to forge a new and more stable path. I have spoken before about my vision for 2028, a year that will mark a major shift in leadership. I see a man in power, but he is not a politician. He is a businessman, middle-aged, with graying hair. He does not emerge from the usual political arena, yet he steps forward as a leader when the country is desperate for stability. This reminds me of Joseph in Egypt. Joseph was not a ruler by birth, nor was he trained for politics. He was a man of business, a man who understood management and provision. Yet, when Egypt faced famine, Pharaoh placed him in charge because of his wisdom. Genesis 41:41 says, "So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." I believe this businessman will rise in a similar way, not through political ambition, but because circumstances will demand it. The country will not be looking for another career politician. They will be looking for someone who understands how to rebuild. As the U.S. struggles through its internal conflicts, Europe will be forced to stand on its own. The balance of power is shifting. I see Europe becoming more independent, relying less on U.S. military support, and taking a stronger stance against Russia. Allies will be forced to reevaluate their relationships, and trade agreements will shift in ways we have not seen before. There will be economic adjustments, and while some countries will struggle, others will rise in influence. I see Germany and France stepping up in leadership, while other nations navigate turbulent waters. The world is reshaping itself, and we are just at the beginning of this transformation. Until a prediction comes true, it remains a vision, a possibility. But once it happens, it becomes a fact. And many of the things I have predicted in the past, things that seemed impossible at the time, have already come to pass. So what does this all mean for us? 2025 will be a year of reckoning, a year where we are forced to confront what is broken in our world. Economically, politically, spiritually, there will be upheaval. But do not fear. Isaiah 43:19 tells us, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." This is what I hold on to. The chaos we see now is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. But we must endure the storm before the sun can rise again. The world will look different after these next few years. Nations will shift, leaders will fall, and new ones will rise. But through it all, Spirit is guiding us. We are not alone in this journey. There are moments when visions come to me with such clarity that they leave no room for doubt. One of the strongest ones I received recently was about planes. Not a mid-air collision, not an engine failure at high altitude, but something happening on the runway itself. I saw a plane breaking apart on the tarmac, an event that seemed almost surreal to me at the time. And then, within 2 days, the world watched in shock as a tragic event unfolded in South Korea. A plane breaking apart on the runway, just as I had seen. I wish I never had to see such things. I don't want to predict disasters, nor do I take any satisfaction in watching them come to pass. These moments are heavy on my heart, but time and again, Spirit has shown me that we are not alone in this world. There is more than what our eyes can see, more than what our minds can grasp. I have received many visions of air accidents, and unfortunately, They have played out not just in South Korea, but also in the United States and Canada. Each time, I feel the weight of these tragedies. I am not responsible for them, yet when they happen, I carry the burden of knowing they were foreseen. Some might ask, what is the purpose of knowing such things in advance? The answer lies in awareness. When people see a vision come true before their eyes, it shakes them. It forces them to ask the deeper questions. Is there more to this world than what we perceive? Are we being warned? And if so, what should we do with that knowledge? Even in my videos, there are times when orbs of light appear near my shoulder, moving across the screen, sometimes even flying into my microphone. Some might dismiss them as camera tricks, but those who have seen them understand. There is more happening in the unseen than most people realize. There is so much more beyond this physical world, a hidden realm, rich and vibrant, that intertwines with our existence in ways many of us are only beginning to understand. I have come to believe through my own experiences that every one of us has the ability to access this unseen dimension. It is not reserved for a select few. Rather, it is a birthright, a forgotten language of the soul. As I look ahead to 2025, I see a year of reckoning, a time when the illusions we have clung to will crumble. The world is shifting faster than we can grasp, and the systems we have relied on, economic, political, and social, are showing deep cracks. Some will resist, hoping to hold on to the past, while others will recognize that transformation is inevitable. For over a year, I have been sensing an economic meltdown, particularly in the United States. Now, we are beginning to see those early warning signs come to life. Economic indicators are diving, markets are faltering, and uncertainty is spreading. This will not be contained within U.S. borders. It will ripple outward, affecting countries across the globe. Some nations will weather the storm better than others, but no one will be untouched. We are witnessing the unraveling of the old world order, a system that has kept power concentrated in a few hands for far too long. The shift is not just financial, it is a global realignment, a redistribution of influence and control. In Haggai 2:6-7, it is written, "This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land. I will shake all nations, and what is desired by all nations will come, and I will fill this house with glory." This is the shaking we are in now. Everything is being turned upside down, not to destroy, but to rebuild on a more stable and just foundation. One of the strongest visions I've had for 2025 is the fragmentation of alliances. The world is no longer operating under a unipolar structure, where one dominant power leads. Instead, we are shifting into a multipolar world, where influence is shared across multiple regions. The United States, once seen as the undisputed leader of the free world, is stepping back, retreating into isolationism. This is not just political maneuvering, it is a deep shift in global power dynamics. Countries that once relied on the US are now seeking new partners. We are already witnessing Canada increasing trade with the European Union and China, while former allies of the US begin looking elsewhere for stability and cooperation. The old ways are dissolving before our eyes. But is this destruction, or is it the birth of something new? While my focus is not often on weather predictions, the natural world speaks in ways we cannot ignore. Climate change has altered the very fabric of our reality, making extreme weather not just a possibility, but a certainty. In one of my recent visions, I saw an earthquake in the Asia-Pacific region, a significant event that had not yet occurred at the time of my prediction. I am not referring to the earthquake that recently struck Vanuatu. I am speaking of another, still to come, one that will shake the region in a way that demands attention. Beyond seismic activity, widespread flooding will continue to devastate communities. I felt this so strongly that I knew it was imminent. And sure enough, within weeks of my prediction, the UK was hit with catastrophic floods, causing immense damage and disruption. This is just the beginning. The Earth itself is responding to the energy of transformation. As above, so below. The instability we feel politically and economically is mirrored in the land and the sea. These predictions come quickly. Often, the moment I speak them, they begin manifesting in real time. And while I do my best to keep track, the sheer speed at which events are unfolding is overwhelming. For those who wish to follow my predictions more closely, I encourage you to look back at my past videos. The patterns are there, and if you watch closely, you will see that what I have spoken of is now becoming reality. I do not share these insights to spread fear, but rather to awaken awareness. The world is changing, not randomly, not chaotically, but according to a greater design. If we understand the shifts, we can prepare, adapt, and thrive. I have seen visions of soldiers moving through golden wheat fields, their boots pressing down on the earth, the weight of war heavy on their shoulders. This image haunts me because I know what it means. Conflict is escalating, and we are on the brink of something far more dangerous than we realize. Whether these troops are a security force for Ukraine, or whether they represent a broader expansion of war involving Russia, I cannot say with certainty. But what I do know is that the battle is far from over. What we have seen so far is only a prelude to something greater, something that will shake nations and test alliances in ways we have not yet imagined. In another vision, I saw Syria becoming a flashpoint, a region set to erupt once again. I try to be specific with my landmarks so that people can recognize what is unfolding when it happens. What I saw was a plateau, rising cliffs, an area that is strategically significant. I believe this region will see military movement, an invasion, or an incursion of some kind. Syria has long been a battleground of hidden wars, proxy forces, shifting allegiances, foreign interventions. But what I sense now is a direct escalation, something bigger than what we have seen in recent years. In Ecclesiastes 3:8, it is written, "A time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace." The world has hoped for peace, but the time for war has not yet passed. For a moment after the Gaza-Israel ceasefire, the world took a breath, hoping that hostilities in the region might settle. But that peace is temporary, a pause before another wave of unrest. The tensions between Israel and Iran have not disappeared. They have simply moved into the shadows, waiting for the right moment to resurface. While diplomacy works to delay the inevitable, the undercurrents of conflict remain strong. I believe we will see renewed clashes in the Middle East, new battle lines drawn, and old grudges ignited once again. It is not what I want to see, nor is it what I wish for, but it is what has been shown to me. Humanity has always looked to the stars, dreaming of what lies beyond the limits of our world. Now, we are not just dreaming, we are reaching. Space travel, planetary exploration, and even the possibility of colonizing other worlds are no longer just science fiction. They are part of our collective evolution. But as we push outward, I believe we are also being called to look inward, to expand not only our physical reach, but also our spiritual awareness. The universe is not just a place of planets and stars, but a vast, interconnected consciousness, one that we are only beginning to understand. I have experienced this firsthand. There was a moment in my journey when I felt I was channeling Edgar Cayce, the famous American prophet known as the Sleeping Prophet. He was not just a visionary, he was a medical intuitive, diagnosing illnesses and recommending cures that came from beyond the ordinary realm of knowledge. As I connected with his energy, I saw something, a being of light walking across a bridge. And suddenly, I understood. The knowledge Cayce received was not from past loved ones or the afterlife as we traditionally understand it. It came from something far greater, a higher intelligence beyond this earth. I believe there are civilizations, beings more advanced, more spiritually evolved than we are, who have been trying to guide us, whispering knowledge to those who are willing to listen. For me, this connection has been deeply personal. I have often seen blue beings, a presence that feels both familiar and foreign. I do not know the full extent of my connection to them, but I feel, on some level, I have known them before. perhaps in another lifetime, perhaps on another world. Which raises the question, are we alone? Or have we simply forgotten how to listen? While space colonization may be far in the future, communication with higher beings is not. We already possess the ability to tap into other realms, to access knowledge beyond what we see. By activating our third eye, by deepening our psychic awareness, we can begin to perceive these connections. The veil between dimensions is thinner than we think, and there are many on Earth today who have already done this, who receive guidance, who connect with energies beyond our world, who understand that the universe is so much more than what we have been taught. This moment in history is not just about scientific advancements, it is about spiritual awakening. I know this firsthand. Years ago, I received a devastating cancer diagnosis, one that shattered my world. I had to endure brutal treatments, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, everything that comes with fighting for your life. I remember feeling like I was at the bottom of a deep well, unable to see the light, unable to imagine ever climbing out. The world became small, painful, suffocating. It wasn't until I reached out to Spirit, until I found faith again, that everything changed. Not faith in a specific religion, not faith in wishful thinking, but faith in something greater, something beyond the tangible world. I began to connect with Spirit daily, to trust that there was meaning in my suffering, that there was a path forward, even if I couldn't see it yet. And as my faith deepened, so did my healing. This is what 2025 is asking of all of us. We are being forced through the fire, through challenges, through pain, through uncertainty. But why? Because we are meant to evolve. We are meant to see beyond what is right in front of us. We are meant to awaken. The hardships we face today are not punishments. They are activations. They are pushing us toward a new way of being, one where we rely less on fear and control and more on faith and intuition. If we can embrace this shift, if we can allow ourselves to step into this higher consciousness, then our entire reality will change. We will stop seeing the world as a place of limitations and start understanding that we are limitless. We will stop fearing the unknown and start embracing it as part of our spiritual evolution. We will stop looking at the sky, wondering if we are alone, and start realizing we have never been alone at all. I believe in something greater than myself. But more than that, I believe in humanity. Despite the wars, the chaos, the fear that surrounds us, I believe that we have the power to rise. I believe that we are capable of more love, more wisdom, more connection than we have ever imagined. But first, we must remember who we are. We must remember that we are not just physical beings, but spiritual ones. And we must trust that, even in the darkest moments, there is light waiting for us on the other side. There was a time in my life when I was stripped bare, left with nothing but my pain, my fear, and the weight of uncertainty. My illness took so much from me, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But in losing everything, I gained something far greater: compassion, gratitude, and an unshakable connection to Spirit. I learned something profound. When you cultivate gratitude, you begin to manifest abundance, not just material abundance, but an abundance of love, purpose, and meaning. Before my illness, I held on to parts of my ego like most people do. I was attached to control, to identity, to the illusion of security. But when everything was taken away from me, when I was at my lowest, I had to surrender. And in that surrender, I discovered the boundless power of faith. Suffering is often the doorway to transformation. It is a process, a refining fire that burns away what is unnecessary, leaving behind only truth. At my lowest, I felt like I had been cast into a deep, dark well, unable to see the light. I know that many people watching this may feel the same way, that they are trapped in darkness, with no way out. But I want to tell you something. There is always a light. You may not see it yet. You may feel like you are drowning in despair, but that light is there, waiting for you to lift your head and find it. There is a story in the Bible that has always resonated with me. In Psalm 40, verse 2, David speaks of being pulled from a pit of despair. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. That is exactly what happened to me. When I finally looked up, when I reached out to Spirit, I began to find my way back. And the more I connected, the more I realized that my suffering had a purpose. I was still here for a reason. I was given a second chance, and I knew I had to use it to help others. That is why I created Revealing Light, my channel and spiritual platform. It was never about fame or recognition. It was about service. Because in the end, this life is about service. People often ask me, why must we go through hardship? Why does life have to be so difficult? The answer is growth. Pain is the great teacher. If we can endure it, if we can face it with faith rather than fear, we become stronger, wiser, and more spiritually connected. We are in a time of immense global and personal transformation. 2025 and the years beyond will not be easy. But I believe that through these hardships, humanity will evolve. We will become more resilient, more compassionate, and more connected to the spiritual world. Think of the caterpillar. It does not simply grow wings and fly. It must first break down completely, dissolving into nothing inside the cocoon before emerging as a butterfly. This is the process we are in now. And just like that caterpillar, we must trust that something beautiful is waiting on the other side. After my illness, even after I physically recovered, I struggled with a deep depression. I had survived, but I felt empty, lost, and disconnected. It was as if something inside me had died. In search of healing, I sought out an Aboriginal shaman in Australia, a healer who had spent years in the vast, untouched desert, learning the ancient ways of spiritual medicine. She took one look at me and said something that shook me. "Your spirit has left your body. It jumped out during your surgery, and it has not returned." I had never considered that, but as soon as she said it, I knew she was right. She performed a healing session, calling my spirit back, reuniting me with the essence of who I am. And as she did, something inside me shifted. The depression lifted. The emptiness was gone. I had never felt so whole, so alive. That experience changed me forever. It made me realize that our Western way of understanding healing is incomplete. There is so much wisdom in ancient indigenous traditions, knowledge that we have dismissed but desperately need. We think that healing is only physical, but true healing is spiritual, emotional, and energetic as well. The more we embrace this understanding, the more we will unlock the full potential of who we are. So this is my message to you. If you are struggling, if you are in a dark place, if you feel like there is no way forward, please do not lose hope. No matter how heavy the burden, no matter how deep the well, there is always a way out. All you have to do is reach out. Spirit is always there, waiting to guide you. And when you take that first step toward faith, whether in yourself, in humanity, or in a higher power, you begin to rise toward the light. Even in the moments when we feel most broken, we are being shaped into something greater. I want to leave you with this. No matter how lost you feel, you are never truly alone. No matter how much pain you're in, healing is always possible. And no matter how dark the night may seem, the light is still shining. You just have to lift your head to see it. We are here to evolve, to grow, to serve, and to love. And through every challenge, every hardship, and every moment of suffering, we are being shaped into something far greater than we ever imagined. So trust the process. Have faith. And always remember, the light is waiting for you. Everything I've shared today is not just prediction. It's a call to awareness. The world is shifting, and we are standing at the edge of something monumental. This is not the time to look away. This is the time to wake up. We are being tested, shaped, and prepared for a new era. Some will resist, clinging to the past, while others will step forward, embracing the unknown with faith and courage. The choice is yours. But here's what I know. Those who see, those who listen, those who trust their intuition, will be the ones who thrive. So I ask you, what do you see? What do you feel is coming? Do you sense the change? Have you experienced spiritual awakenings in your own life? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let's talk. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. The more we spread awareness, the stronger we become, as individuals and as a collective. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and be part of this journey with me. I'll continue to bring you insights, guidance, and revelations as we navigate these uncertain times together. The universe is speaking. Are you listening? I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay aware, and above all, stay connected to the light.